Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do. I've only got 10 minutes and I tend to waffle, so I'll try and be quick. Let me tell you a bit about Figment. We work with people like this. We do a big range of work, and the fact that we're speaking at a games event is a little bit odd because we're not a games company. However, we share most of the same technology bed that you guys use, and some of the work that we do, specifically because we've moved into doing a lot of virtual reality work, certainly crosses over with what the games industry is having to deal with at the moment, I think. So what you'll see on this list of clients here is a big range of different companies. For some of them, we've done stuff like, for Coca-Cola, we did lots of work at the Olympic Games, both London and Sochi Winter Olympics. Things like interactive physical games within a kind of a physical exhibition environment at the Olympic Park. We've done about 150 different installations around the world for the various Merlin attractions, which is places like Madame Tussauds, Sea Life Centres, Legoland, and various theme parks. And because our background has been in producing media-based communications stuff, whether that's for marketing or whether that's actually a location-based attraction like a theme park, we have evolved with the technology to go from being primarily with a background in film and TV production work, through to doing a lot of real-time work. And that's meant virtual reality. So these are some of the projects that we've done with VR. And you'll notice on the top section there are all VR roller coasters. That doesn't mean the stuff that you download when you first get a Google Cardboard and end up throwing up all over the floor. These are real roller coasters that we've put virtual reality headsets on and synchronized the movement of the ride with the content. So, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a second. And then we've done various other VR films and experiences. Wimbledon Tennis Club, we've done a kind of a film about their history narrated by Tim Henman. That's a mixture of real-time graphics, some motion graphics, pre-rendered work, and some 360 filming, which we did with a Nokia Ozo at the championships last year. Colin who's in the audience was involved in that one where we were filming on centre court, Andy Murray finals and all that kind of stuff. We've done some corporate bits, and then we've done the Ghost Train, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a minute. But really, we got onto the VR scene by getting involved with roller coasters. So the first one we did was at Alton Towers. It was Galactica at Alton Towers. And we've done a couple more since then. The latest one that we've done is at SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida. And these are some grabs. And the reason I just put these on screen, as much as you probably can't quite see what they are at the moment, what it shows you is different parts of the track. So as you can see here, we're going up a lift hill on a roller coaster into a brake zone, and various moves. Now, the movement of the coaster is synchronized with the content. We developed custom electronics, custom headset covers, custom harnesses, tether systems, all sorts of stuff that we wouldn't normally do in our day jobs, but we had to do that to make this system work. So we designed the physical hardware and we designed the software that runs it, plus we developed the content. So to give you an example of the kind of content, I just realized I'm plugging the sound in, haven't I? Might be okay, let's give it a go. This is an example of the kind of content that we produce.
It's coming out. It's coming out. We can hear.
Is it? Okay.
All subs, launch now. Sub 1 autopilot, launching.
It's not this jumpy on the coaster, I promise you. Oh dear. My 9.5 minutes of videos are going to be painful, aren't they? So this would be as you're going up the lift hill, and the idea is that you're off to explore some unusual phenomena. Surprise, surprise, things might go wrong. So you're at the top of the lift hill here, and you're about to go down the enormous drop on the other side.
This current's going to take us down. Hold on.
There's a theory VR makes you sick. Amazingly, it makes you less sick on a roller coaster than if you didn't have VR. That's the God honest truth.
That's Atlantis. And that's the Kraken.
It's an American experience.
Atlantis is rising.
That's my favourite bit. Kraken! It's nearly over. So this is the brake zone. So as you feel the brake stump on, the Kraken gets you, and then you engage forward thrust and escape momentarily. But guess what? It's not over yet.
This is Base Command. Report your position. Near Atlantis? Sure. Any unusual species?
Okay. So I don't know, I felt motion sick after that. I don't know about you. So the reason I ran that through in its kind of complete form is just to give you a flavour of the kind of work that we produce, and the fact that despite being VR, we do real-time VR, but that is not real-time VR, as you probably would have guessed. And so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today regarding VR is expectations, because in our world, the expectations are fairly unrealistic, if I'm honest, and they have been for a few years, and although the technology is advancing, and that's great, the expectations are still that virtual reality means reality that feels real, but is stuff that you can control. What our clients do not expect to get from VR is a game experience. They don't expect it to feel like a game. And in the initial project that we did with VR, that was a massive hurdle for us to get over. And this was actually the very first project that we did, which is Darren Brown's Ghost Train at Thorpe Park. So this was started nearly 4 years ago now, and I worked with Darren and the team at Merlin Magic Making, who were building the ride, and together we created this experience. But the key thing that I wanted to talk about as part of this project is the fact that in the early days we came in knowing what VR was, and we were working with a bunch of people who didn't at the beginning know what VR was. And so the clash of expectations was something that took a while to understand, as did the ambition of the project. It's been open for a while, so I can talk a bit more openly now about it than I could before. It actually runs on 3 full-size London Underground tube carriages which move around on a track. It's all part of an illusion which Darren created, where you can't actually see any of these things. They're behind a giant illusion, and you walk onto what looks like a floating train carriage like this, and when you step inside, it's the London Underground carriage. And there are, between the 3 carriages, there are 173 HTC Vives, each with its own PC, all of them networked, all of them talking to the ride control system, and we spec'd out that system, and we designed all the software that would make it work and talk to the ride control system, and we produced the content. And despite the enormous complexity of that experience, going from a blank, literally a blank canvas or a blank piece of ground through to the finished ride, a huge hurdles to get over. But the one that I still find most fascinating now is based on people's perceptions of what VR is going to be. And so let me just show you a little bit of that. I'm aware that I'm already rambling, so I'm actually going to skip the next probably jerky video and go on to expectations. We come from a film background, but we've been working with Unity for quite a long time. We've done a bit with Unreal, but Unity's just by default is our tool of choice at the moment. And so we actually use Unity heavily in this project. And when we started, we decided that we were going to do the greatest characters that had ever been on a VR headset. And we used photogrammetry to build these characters. And I have to say, I thought they looked incredible. We started off by taking these actors, putting them in costume, putting them in makeup. We built our own photogrammetry rig, and we created some really lovely 3-dimensional, high-resolution models of these characters. We put them inside our virtual train carriage, which was also maxing out every graphics card we could get our hands on, and it was amazing. I went to Darren's house with it, and we were with Darren and with some of the creative team from Merlin, and we all put the headsets on, and I, like an excited child, started talking about how wonderful the graphics were. And it seems that our expectation, possibly our expectation of what are great graphics, is not what fits with other people's expectation of virtual reality. So many people that I've come across in the theme parks that we work in, both on the client side and on the guest side, put a headset on and they expect it to be absolutely real. You know, I saw a woman be moved to 6 different seats on the Galactica roller coaster because she was convinced her headset was broken, and we kept trying the headset and no, it seems to be working to us. And in the end I got to the bottom of the problem, which was that she could see dots. And if anyone here has put on a VR headset, you wouldn't be surprised to hear that she could see some dots, because that's just, it's what you get from a mobile phone screen with a couple of magnifying glasses on it. And her expectation was it should be absolutely real, and she shouldn't be able to tell the difference between reality and virtual reality. And so we hit that with characters. I know the next talk's about motion capture. We did some great motion capture. We bought a whole new bunch of motion capture equipment. We had these incredibly realistic characters. But despite the level that we managed to get them to, and in fact what you're looking at there is a low resolution version of the character. Despite what we managed to achieve, that uncanny valley thing crept in, and nobody would take it, no one would have it, no one would accept that set of expectations. So we moved on to using film characters and doing that whole hybrid thing of using stereo and multi-camera filming within a VR environment. So that's where we ended up. Lots of processing of video material and experimenting with things like bendy billboards to run video on, so that you could do a little bit of parallax movement and kind of see around a character, which obviously you couldn't do. We had some great advantages in our system, which was that we had people sat probably closer than you guys are sitting right now. So the ability to move around and break our illusion was confined, thankfully. So it gave us a bit of room for manoeuvre. But I just wanted to talk about that set of expectations, really, partly because I haven't got time to talk about much else. But I think that for all of us who are trying to get into the VR industry and deliver projects in the VR industry, it's worth bearing in mind where people's heads are at right now. You know, we're in constant conversations with people about 360 video. Obviously, if you go to Centre Court and you film the finals of Andy Murray playing, they want to see Andy Murray. They don't want to see CG Andy Murray. They want to see Andy Murray. And that's what we'll deliver with a Nokia Ozo or whatever camera we're using. However, if you want to be able to do a walkthrough experience with your Space Marine gun in your hand, then we have some different challenges. And trying to get realistic humans into the scenes is probably the biggest challenge of all, I think. So I'll very briefly mention that. That went to the point where we literally reshot the whole of the final stage of the ride this year, and we filmed the whole thing 360 on Ozos, did a load of visual effects work, simply because they wanted more and more realism. And finally, moving forward from that, we're currently working on a project with Adrian and his team and with the Foundry to actually work with light fields to try and increase that perception of depth and the 3D-ness of the characters. And that is a project to look out for called Kinch and the Double World, which we hope will be coming out at the end of this year. Did I rush the end?
Thank you very much, Simon.